Good evening. This is Traquan Gregory, take 7. This is one of my first video presentations, so bear with me. This presentation is on special education law presentation video. The first question is a brief history of special education before the 1970s and from the 1970s to present day, referencing appropriate judicial decisions. From researching about special education law, I have found out that students have not always had the right to special education. Before 1961, the United States did not publicly educate any children with disabilities. If a child had any cognitive or emotional disabilities, the parents needed to educate their own kids. In 1965, Lyndon B. Johnson began signing off on acts designed to expand public education and its funding process. Also, another important date is 1975. The United States voted to ensure that all children, regardless of any differences, disabilities, have access to free public school education. This was a big thing in 1975. Apparently, this law helped bring federal funds into the school and it created the special education departments within the school systems. It is now called the Individual with Disability Education Act of 2004. At this time, lawmakers continue to amend this act to ensure that all families of disabilities are not isolated in inclusive classrooms or classrooms by themselves, in other words. The second question is a brief description of two court cases about parental rights and student educational rights, such as FERPA, IDEA, or rights of students in public charter schools or private schools. The two cases that I have chosen was MC versus Antelope Valley Union High School District. And once again, I am reading from a typed up paper that I've written up to help me get through this presentation. The problem was the plaintiffs claimed that the school district denied the student a free, appropriate education by failing to develop measurable goals in all areas of needs and failing to provide adequate orientation and mobility services as well as adequate social skills. And the summary of this case was in the Individuals with Disability Education Act, IDEA case, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals held that a school district violated the procedural requirements of the Act by revising a disabled student individual education program, an IEP, failing to provide an accurate offer of services, and failing to respond to the parent's due process complaint. In other words, they did not meet the adequate time that frame for IEPs. As we all know that it is a lot of dates to be met with IEPs. Um, on December the 11th, 2018, the Supreme Court denied the petition from the school system and ruled in favor of the students and the student's family. The second court case was FH versus Memphis City Schools. The parents sued the school systems after finding out the child was verbally, physically, and sexually abused by his aides at the school. In the contract, it said schools entered into a settlement agreement with the parents. However, they refused to honor their agreement, so therefore it was brought to court. The problem of it is that the child was abused verbally, physically, and sexually by his aides at school. She had ample amount of evidence per the lawsuit found on page 3 of 10 and the lawsuit documents. If you get a chance, that would be a great thing to look up to see just that. 3 to 4 recommended sources, including one from the home state in which you will teach in. Um, Three resources for a fact would be to get into blogs and newsletters that pertain to special education and the laws of special education. There are tons of local advocacy groups out here. They are made up of parents, they're made up of principals, teachers, anyone that has to do with special education. That is another good resource. That's the second resource that I have for you. And the third resource would be to talk to the teachers. Teachers are to stay up to date on things. They are supposed to have different workshops throughout the year to ensure that they are meeting all the requirements for special education. 9 times out of 10, the school system that your child or that you're teaching in will more than likely have a head sped teacher or someone who is in charge of staying up to date and giving the information out to others about special education. So they are three resources. Another one would be the Virginia Department of Education website. Since I live in Virginia, that's the website that I will be hopefully teaching from. Since I do want to teach in Virginia, they also have a section for special education which is updated constantly whenever new changes come out. So definitely look into that. Look into your home state, Virginia, your home state Department of Education website. Usually 9 times out of 10, if any changes were to come, they will be the first to know. You will be able to read all the bylaws, anything dealing with special education or any changes there. I think I covered the gist of this presentation. Have a good evening.